Hello, I'm Debbie Bell-Hosking for FinextraTV at Payments Unleashed EMEA, and I'm joined by Tom Warsop, President and CEO of ACI Worldwide. And we're not talking about where payments has been, we're not talking about where they are, but ultimately in this discussion we want to take them that step further and see where they're headed. So on that note, Tom, welcome to our pop-up studio.
Well, thank you very much, I appreciate it. And it's really exciting to be here because as you say, we're talking about where payments are going. And I don't have a crystal ball, I wish I did, but this forum is specifically created to bring together experts in the industry, people with lots of experience, lots of skills, and people who are very open to thinking about the future. So the entire agenda is crafted to think about what might be and how we can all take advantage of those opportunities.
Well, let's talk about this event, and when people from the payments industry come together, there's a lot of talk about innovation.
Yeah.
Is there less talk about execution? And do you feel that perhaps the industry is a little too focused on what's new?
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of human nature to focus on the shiny new toy. I have a 7-month-old granddaughter, and whatever the last thing you gave her, that's all she cares about it. I mean, it's not quite that bad, but definitely I see that. I think one thing about payments is that it's great, it's phenomenally wonderful to have new technologies, new payment types. It's really a wonderful thing. Payments are not forgiving. You have to be able to execute with extremely high precision and at enormous scale. And so you're asking about execution, that's the point. It's, by all means, let's think about how we can add new choices, we can integrate new payment types, we can make things easier for consumers, for sure, and we have to make sure that they operate every single time, that you never miss a payment. If I say I need money to go from A to B, it goes from A to B at the time that I tell it. So there's very little room for error. And so execution, absolutely critical. And you shouldn't separate the two things. Innovation, absolutely, it has happened for a very long time. It will continue to happen. And extraordinarily good execution.
And something I'm going to take away with me is that phrase you used as we lead on to the next question, that payments are not forgiving.
They are not. That's right.
That is a good phrase. So let's look now at the momentum we are seeing. So we're seeing a lot of momentum in areas like real-time payments and AI, and then on the flip side, there are others who are still in the conceptualization phase. Why do you think there's this divide of practice?
Conceptualization is a lot easier than reality. I think that's the short answer. I was describing earlier today that when I build something new in a PowerPoint deck, it always works. But the reality of the world is different. And once you try to execute on it, you run into all of those challenges you didn't know existed, or you underestimated, whatever it might be. So I think there is that gap between the idea and the reality. And also it's a lot more fun to conceptualize. I mean, that's just how it is. The hard work begins when you finish the conceptual part and you start to make it real. And that's where you really separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, because there are a lot of people and organizations out there that will give you all kinds of really great ideas, but they have no idea how to take them to reality. And I think organizations like ours, our job is to make sure all of this stuff works and to keep pushing the envelope and keep incorporating new ideas, but always keeping our eye on the ball, make sure that it works, and manage that move from concept to reality.
And of course, as people are managing those moves and keeping up with technology, payments are becoming faster and more automated. And within this, is the industry perhaps undermining that all-important trust?
I don't know about undermining, but what I will say is that trust is the key in our industry and many others, by the way, but in the payments industry for sure, because we're talking about moving money. I said before, payments are not forgiving, and so if I'm going to count on you or on my bank or on my whomever it is, if I'm going to count on you to move that money and make that payment, I have to trust you. We did, my company ACI did a study. We commissioned it with a third party recently, looking at how people feel about using agentic commerce. And so it was quite an interesting outcome. Only 19% of all the people surveyed around the world trust an agent to purchase something on their behalf. Only 19%. That'll change, I'm quite sure it'll change, but furthermore, a huge percentage of people said, if the AI makes one mistake, I won't use it again. So there's an enormous gap between the level of trust that you need to generate with the users and the payers and recipients and where we are today. And I think the only way to deal with that is to just make small steps and keep demonstrating it can work. Here's how it can work. Here's the framework you should use to make yourself comfortable. And one of the big challenges, the big debates we have all the time is related to this, and it's, okay, let's say the agent does something that I didn't want it to do. It bought me 1,000 rolls of paper towels when I only wanted one, or whatever it is. Who's liable for that? Who pays for that? Who makes it right? A lot of the consumers in the world have grown up in an environment where if you use your credit card and there's something that goes wrong with that transaction, generally speaking, the issuer of the card will make that right for you and they will hold you not accountable for that. Agentic commerce, is that, I mean, this is an open debate. Is that how it should be? I don't think so, because I'm creating the agent. I'm telling the agent what to do. If my agent does something it's not supposed to and I told it to do it, I'm liable. I'm accountable for that. I can't expect anyone else. But there's part of that trust gap, because of that, because of what I just said, the bar to trust that agent to make a transaction for you gets higher. Because if you believe that somebody else is going to take care of it, if it does something, well, sure, I'll try it. But that isn't necessarily the case. It's undetermined what the situation is going to be. So there are a lot of angles going into this, but you hit on exactly the right word. You know, what level of trust do we need in order to continue to see progress, particularly in agentic commerce? And what level do we have now? We know that's low. So how do we get that trust level increased? And it's going to take time, it's going to take experience, and it's going to take a lot of trial and error.
Well, Tom, on that note, I suppose that's why we're looking towards the future,
right,
and see what that's going to hold. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.